Basic farm of 600 acres in the central west of New South Wales, predominantly beef cattle. I guess we've originally always tried to be down the seed stock side of things, producing bulls and showing some cattle just for the fun of it and trying to get a little bit of exposure. But over the last few years we've probably changed our direction a little bit and moving more towards an ecologically based results as opposed to financially based, where we're in the transition period of doing that, and it's taken a few years, but the ecological side of the farm has really come forward, and because of that the financial side's really coming forward as well. Plus on top of that we do some contracting. If you had to put that into a nutshell, I'd happily say to someone, if they were earning $70,000 a year per se, and you had to put that $70,000 into $20 bills, go out into a paddock, say mid-December, and then just let it all float around there for a little while and see what the weather does, whether they'd be a little bit concerned on the outcome of what's going to happen, because I think at the end of the day that's the biggest thing that farmers see as a major influence on a negative basis and also a positive basis is Mother Nature. You never know what she's going to do, and it can bring out the best and the worst. But I think because we live in the driest continent in the world, you know, you can get dry for a very long time, and because of that it puts huge financial pressures on a lot of people and a lot of families. I wish I could tell you what brought it on, because I don't really know how long I had it for before I basically went and sought help. It could have been 10 years, and I probably think it was 10 years, but I guess at the end of the day the triggers of it getting worse and worse and worse was, you know, on a physical basis. I had no appetite, I didn't sleep very well, I, you know, had problems, aches and pains, always had a sore back. On an emotional, I never had any energy, like the lethargy. I was always tired, couldn't think straight, couldn't make the basic decision of what arm to put in, you know, the boys to put their arms through their, you know, their PJs. I couldn't think through the most simple of matters of problem solving. As far as having an effect on myself emotionally and my family, it was absolutely devastating. I knew I was an emotional wreck all the time. I could always figure out that, you know, there was a problem, but it was never my fault. I knew that dead set, but now looking back, it certainly was all me. There's no doubt about that. But I was very short-tempered. You couldn't reason with me. As again, I was tired. I look at depression for me as an emotional thief. Like, it stole so many beautiful things from my life at an early age, of days that I should be able to cherish, like the birth of my kids and, you know, my wedding day. Like, I was there and I smiled because I had to smile, but at the end of the day I just didn't feel the things that I know now that you can feel. I think the kids were lucky that they were at an age where we were able to get on top of it before it really did affect them. I've been on medication for going on 6 years now, and I'm still on it and happy to be on it. But I think, you know, if in those early years of development for a kid, if you had been subjected to, you know, to myself, I think it could have gone very badly. I think, you know, it would have had certainly an effect on them, on the bond that I would have had with my boys. As far as my wife is concerned, I am just blessed that I have a very forgiving and a very understanding wife who was able to hang with me through the thick and the thin of it all, without judging some stupid things that I did, and always thinking that maybe, you know, we'll be able to get him some help at some stage, and he will come good again. And at the time, you think it's all about yourself when you actually find out that you do have depression, but it's not till you actually get past that and you can look back do you see that the effect it had on other people around you, and losing friends that you certainly once had, and sometimes you can't rekindle those friendships because of things that have happened. But I'm lucky that, like I said, I've got a wife who's very understanding, and we've been able to patch a lot of things up. I guess the main reason is I know there's people going through the same thing that what I've been through, but they're unaware of it, they don't understand it, and it's not till, I think you can read every pamphlet in the world, but it's not till you can actually relate to someone's real life story that actually makes a lot more sense to you. And I would never wish this on my worst enemy, someone having depression or having to live through depression, because it's a horrible, horrible thing. And I think, you know, if it takes people sometimes a 3 or 4 step journey to get themselves to the doctor, obviously have a couple of meltdowns, a couple of triggers, or, you know, some things are going terribly wrong, that's when you start looking for the, you know, the reasoning why you're doing what you're doing and why you're feeling what you're feeling. So if I can help with one of those steps, to take step 1 to step 2 or step 3 to step 4, then I'm happy to do that. Yeah, it's a number of things, and I guess if you go for the obvious as at the outset, I guess it's your local doctor and your medication. If you're able to go take that further and have a psychiatrist and talk to them, it helps you understand what you're doing and why you were doing what you're doing. On top of that, your family and your friends, like your close friends, who you can say, look, this is what I've been through, this is why I've been doing what I've been doing, and this is how I'm going to get better. And by incorporating that sphere of trust around you, it's a lot easier to go through it. Yeah, I guess it's amazing. Not that there's a club, and not that it's a club that I want to be associated with a lot of the time, just because what I've had to go through. But I think there's a little bit of a kinship between people who've gone through the same thing, and a lot of people who have gone through it and maybe not talked publicly to other people have then shared their story with me. And and some people, after hearing my story, have then gone to seek help themselves to find out why they were doing things they were doing. And yeah, there is a bit of a special bond between people, I guess, who've had to go through the suffering that we've gone through. And it's always nice to know that someone's there to try and, for you, if you ever go back into that dark place. I do a few things. I try and look at my diet. Certainly for me personally, the better I eat, the better I feel. I try and stay away from too much processed food, and I can hear the people at the pub bringing out the nibbles laughing at me right now, because I do like a couple of meat pies every now and then. I don't drink nearly as much as I used to. I just drink a couple of beers socially now. And probably the biggest thing that I'm doing at the moment is really looking after my fitness. I try and really get on top of my fitness, and that's been probably the biggest single thing for me, is making sure I do a little bit of exercise on a weekly basis, at least 4 times that week, at least 4 times. The biggest thing I've got to not do is not to self-medicate, because I think for me personally, the self-medication was such an easy thing to do. It was something which it just fell into my hands so easily, and it was a short-term high. And I guess it's escapism, and whatever you can escape to, even if it is a short period of time, it's a great thing, you think, until the next day, when you feel twice as bad as what you're going to, because it's obviously depressant. Mine was alcohol. There's other people who move on to heavier stuff than that. So that's my biggest thing. The first thing that happened to me, I couldn't actually tell you. I can tell you some things that was going on in my life. I remember driving along and crying for no reason in a truck. All of a sudden the tears started flowing. I could not tell you why. I couldn't tell you why at all. Like I said, the lethargy, having no energy to do anything whatsoever. And I think if you woke up one day and if you had a death in the family, like a lot of people do, and you had a wart on your nose, which is one of the symptoms of depression, it'd be really easy. But for me, I didn't have an obvious symptom of something dramatically going wrong for me. It was a process of a lot of little things over a very long period of time. And that made it very hard for me to be able to pinpoint a time. But I guess when you start reading the pamphlets of a multitude of different things that you look for, that was when I realised perhaps there is a problem. When instead of getting 3 out of 10 on the Beyond Blue website test, I got 11 out of 11, which is probably the first test I've actually got 100% in a long time. But at the end of the day, it was a lot of little things. I think knowledge is power at the end of the day, and if you want to learn about anything, you're going to be better off for it. And we all know that depression used to be something that was swept under the carpet, and these days people can talk about it really easily. So I just am happy to put my bit out there of sharing my experiences, and I think at the end of the day, then people realise that it's just an illness. It's no different to diabetes. It's no difference to getting a cold, or it's no difference to horrible things like cancer. Like we all have to be treated, and if you've got to take a pill at the end of the day, I mean, the way I look at it, if that's the worst thing that happens to me today, I'll take that. I guess, as we've talked about before, it's probably more of a environmental effect of I guess the pressures associated with what's going to happen. Or is it going to rain or isn't going to rain? You could also say that maybe there's not the facilities for a lot of people to go and talk to other people. You could easily say that I don't know if I know a more stubborn bunch of blokes than bloody farmers. Really, at the end of the day, they're quite happy to look after their tractors and service them, but they tend to forget about themselves a lot of the time. Whether they don't talk enough, I don't know. Whether they need to talk more with their friends and family. I tend to think probably that farmers are, as a group of people, you won't find a more stoic group of people to live through a lot of stuff that they have to live through and keep wanting to go on. And I guess at the end of the day, their lives are about fixing stuff. The fence is broken, the water trough's done, the water pump's gone, so let's just fix it. So they think if something's wrong with them, she'll be right. I'll get over it. Nothing wrong with me.